The Chronologue. Episode 7, A Conversation with Darth Vader. The structure feels less like a room and more like a verdict. Polished stone. 0 light sources. No walls, only suggestions of perimeter. And at the center, not a throne, not a cockpit, but a chair. Black, curved, bolted to the floor. It hums faintly. Not electricity, memory. Jude Meridian does not arrive with sound or spectacle. He steps into the stillness like someone intruding on a eulogy he doesn't yet understand. The air carries an electric quiet, a quiet designed, not natural. A silence that warns, this space is not for the living. The man in the chair, if man still applies, sits in complete stillness. The black armor drinks in what little ambient shimmer exists. The breathing, mechanical and implacable, is the only sign this is not sculpture. The slow, processed intake and exhale of Darth Vader's respirator. Deep, echoing, absolute.
Darth Vader.
No response. Not immediately. Then, a shift. The helmet angles a single degree. Not to look, to acknowledge.
You do not belong here.
That's usually the case.
They send you to interrogate the ruin, to pry meaning from the wreckage.
Not interrogate. Converse.
You will find that I am fluent in silence.
Then let's break it together.
The voice of Vader is not merely low. It is constructed, as if the remnants of a man had to be routed through circuitry before reaching the surface. And yet, beneath the distortion, there's something unfinished. Not weakness, not emotion. Something closer to tension.
Is this a memory or a metaphor?
It is neither. It is the place I go when the galaxy forgets me.
Does it forget you often?
No, and that is its failure.
Jude walks a slow arc around the room. There is no light, yet his shadow falls across the floor. There is no heat, yet the air has weight.
People know your name. They recognize your mask. They fear your breath. But the man inside, they never met him. Not really.
They met fragments, anger sculpted into obedience, pain given a command structure. They met the remains.
And before?
Before, I was a contradiction, gifted, afraid, angry, loyal, loved. It was unsustainable.
Why?
Because the galaxy is not kind to contradictions. It demands definition, and when it cannot find one, it assigns you one.
Vader does not move, yet the presence expands, as if acknowledging himself costs something.
They told me I was the chosen one, the one to bring balance. They gave me a prophecy, and then punished me when I failed to fit it.
Who was they?
The Jedi.
The name doesn't come with venom, but with a cold, deep pressure.
They found me on a desert moon. They saw my gifts and called them dangers. They told me attachment was the path to the dark, but I had already known love. My mother. Her hands. Her voice. The way she cried when I left.
Did you want to go?
I wanted to stay, but I wanted to matter more.
You were what, 9?
Enough to dream, too young to know the cost.
Vader's gauntlet moves, not much. Just enough to suggest a gesture unfinished. A memory interrupting itself.
They stripped me of her name, her scent, her softness. I slept on cold floors surrounded by cold men who spoke of peace while sharpening weapons.
They trained you.
They indoctrinated me with elegance, with good intentions. They called it balance, but what they taught was fear in polite language.
A faint reverberation in the floor. Not an alarm, more like a pulse.
So when did it begin to crack?
It never held. The illusion, yes, the composure, but beneath it, rage. Not against them at first. Against myself. For wanting, for feeling, for failing their calm.
What did you want?
To be seen entirely, not as a weapon, not as a prophecy, just a boy who loved fast machines and wanted his mother to live.
The room tightens. Not physically, atmospherically. Like something enormous just passed by, just behind the veil.
You speak plainly now. That surprises me.
Because people expect the monster, they expect the syntax of intimidation. But you asked for the man, and he has waited decades to speak.
Jude stops moving. He sits, Not on a chair, but on the edge of the moment. Cross-legged, open.
Did you love Padme?
Silence. But not cold. It breathes.
She was air after the Jedi, after the desert, after the screams. She was the first thing that didn't require control. Her laugh didn't ask me to be noble. Her touch didn't measure me against the Force. With her, I was allowed to exist.
What did she see in you?
The child, the survivor, the contradiction. She didn't flinch from it. She held it. And for a moment, I believed I could be held.
But you couldn't hold on to her.
No.
Vader's helmet turns slightly away. Whether out of shame or reflection is unclear.
Because I believed power would keep her safe. That if I was strong enough, no death could touch her. No prophecy could steal her. I bargained with shadows. I strangled futures. All to stop a vision.
And in doing so, fulfilled it.
Yes, that is the shape of irony. It is not humor. It is precision.
The floor beneath Jude flickers, and for a moment he sees a hospital room. A woman in labor. A man on his knees, miles away in machinery.
Do you remember her final words?
Yes.
What were they?
That there was still good in me.
Was she right?
At the time I called it delusion. Now I call it prophecy.
Vader rises. Slowly. Mechanically. And yet the movement carries no aggression. Only density.
You ask questions no one dared in life. You pull memory like wire from scar.
That's the work.
Then let me tell you something unasked. Something not clean or elegant.
Jude nods.
After Mustafar and after the fire, I woke to metal, not the armor, the limbs. I reached for my face and found a cage. I screamed, but no sound came. And in that void, I understood. I had succeeded. Padme was dead. The Jedi were ash. And I was now a vessel, of silence, of purpose, of survival.
Did you want to die?
I wanted to dissolve not into death, into nothing, but Sidious would not let me. He gave me a name, a purpose, a target, and a cage with enough power to forget what was missing.
Did it work?
For a time.
Jude remains still, listening not as a host, as a witness.
Do you believe in redemption?
Belief is for the living, but yes, I believe it is a spiral, not a ladder. One never ascends to forgiveness. One circles it, closer, then farther, then closer again.
Did you ever reach the center?
In my son's eyes, yes.
The lights dim slightly. Not by power failure, by design. The conversation is pulling the structure deeper. Into memory, into truth. The hum of a saber, not drawn, remembered.
We'll go further.
I know.
The interview is just beginning. The chamber shifts again, not in shape, but in atmosphere. The air is heavier now, like a cathedral after confession. The shadows stretch slightly longer. A faint tremor pulses through the floor every few minutes, not seismic, emotional. Jude remains seated, unmoving. Across from him, Vader stands like a monument waking into memory. The hum of the respirator is no longer oppressive. It's rhythmic, human, like an ocean breaking against iron.
Tell me about anger.
It is not what they think.
Vader's voice has changed. Not the sound, still filtered, still deep, but the cadence. Slower, reflective. As if he's no longer testifying, but remembering aloud.
People speak of rage as fire, sudden, violent, temporary. But my anger was cold. It was the kind that freezes possibility. It calcifies reason. It doesn't scream. It decides.
When did you first feel it like that?
Tatooine.
A pulse?
When I found her, my mother bound, broken, unrecognizable, still breathing only because death had grown tired of her.
Jude doesn't speak. He doesn't need to. The story unfurls without pressure now.
I carried her. Her body weighed less than my guilt. She died before I could form a sentence. And the sand, the silence, it offered nothing. Not comfort, not meaning, just indifference.
And so you killed?
Yes.
Was that the first time you crossed the line?
No, that was the first time I wanted the line to vanish.
Vader begins to walk slowly. His boots echo differently now, like memory trying to wear down the floor.
They were animals, yes, but I didn't distinguish. Not between fighter and bystander. Not between guard and child. I wanted the world to feel what I felt.
Which was?
The futility of waiting for justice.
He stops walking, turns. The mask fixed on Jude, but something beneath it shifts. Not rage, not sorrow. Something between.
I wanted someone to say I was right.
Did anyone?
No, the Jedi buried the event. Padme feared me. Obi-Wan recoiled.
Did you ever try to explain it?
I did. But explanation sounds like justification, and the Jedi trained us to apologize for nothing but fear.
The pause stretches. Jude lets it. He watches the movement beneath Vader's words, the patterns, the fragments reforming. This isn't a warrior's posturing. It's excavation.
Let's talk about Obi-Wan.
Do we have to?
Yes.
The mechanical breath continues. A full 3 cycles pass before he answers.
He was the closest thing I had to a father, or a brother, or a constant. And that was the problem.
How so?
He loved with caution, he taught with distance. He believed in the code more than in me.
Was that his failing or yours?
Both.
Vader moves again, this time to the edge of the chamber, where a section of the wall has changed. It's not stone anymore. It's a window, but it looks inward. A scene plays like a phantom. Lava, screams, betrayal.
When we fought Adgan Mustafar, he still believed I could be turned. But he fought to destroy, not to save.
He says he left you for dead.
When he did, he looked into what remained and saw something unredeemable.
Did he break your heart?
He broke my coordinates, my orientation to the galaxy, my internal gravity.
The screen vanishes. The wall becomes wall again.
I didn't scream because I was in pain. I screamed because I was unmoored.
And what replaced him?
Palpatine.
A beat, heavy.
He offered certainty. Obi-Wan offered questions. I was tired of questions.
Did you ever regret that?
Only every time I stood alone in a hallway and heard my breath echo off the walls.
The faint resonance of metal on metal. Not combat, assembly.
You were feared across systems. Entire civilizations surrendered before your ship even docked. Did that feed you?
What sustained the mask?
And the man beneath it?
Hungered.
The mask doesn't emote, but something in Vader's posture releases. A slight sag at the shoulder, a loosening of spine.
Power is intoxicating, but it is also profoundly lonely. You become the only voice in a room, not because others don't speak, but because they never say anything real.
Did you long for connection?
Not openly, but it haunted me like music from another life.
Jude stands, mirroring Vader's earlier pacing. Slow, deliberate.
Luke changed that.
Yes.
How?
He didn't flinch, he didn't rationalize. He felt. And he wasn't afraid of what he felt, even when that feeling included rage.
Vader steps closer.
When he struck me in anger, during our final battle, I saw myself. Not the monster I had become, the child I had been. Scared, desperate, alive.
Did you fear him?
I feared what he proved, that I had a choice.
You believed you didn't?
I built my world on that belief, that everything was fate, destiny, that I was the inevitable product of wounds and war. And then he shattered that, just by refusing.
Vader's hands open slightly, palms turned upward.
He threw down his weapon, said he would not kill me, that he was a Jedi, like his father before him.
And?
And for the first time in decades, someone believed that father still applied to me.
The room warms. Slightly. Enough for Jude to feel his breath thicken.
Did you love him?
More than anything I ever destroyed.
Vader moves back to the center. Stands still again. But now, the stillness is different. Less defensive. More revealed.
Tell me about happiness.
It's not a word that belongs to me.
Try.
Another pause.
Once in Naboo, during late summer, Padme and I hid there. We walked through the gardens, no armor, no surveillance, just skin and breeze and laughter. I remember the sound of her voice. When she forgot the war, it was undeserved, but it was mine.
Did you think you'd have more of that?
I thought I'd buy it, with peace, with strength, with silence. I thought if I made the galaxy kneel, it would finally leave me alone long enough to feel that again.
And did it?
The galaxy does not kneel. It fractures. It mourns. It survives.
Jude takes a breath. The longest so far.
You said earlier you were tired of questions. Are you tired now?
No,
Why not?
because now I'm not alone in the room.
The light above them, faint and directionless, pulses once. The breath continues. The man remains. And the conversation deepens. The chamber no longer resembles anything human. Shapes flicker and fold in dimensions that don't obey physics. Stone becomes glass, glass becomes stars, stars collapse into walls. But Jude and Vader remain fixed. The conversation itself anchors them. Vader stands still at the chamber's center, a silent eclipse. Jude remains seated now, eyes sharp, posture relaxed, as if waiting not for confession but for connection.
There's a theory, maybe you've heard it, that the galaxy didn't need you to fall, that your tragedy wasn't necessary.
It wasn't.
Then why did it happen?
Because I mistook inevitability for identity. I believed the only way forward was through domination. Of self, of others, of fate.
The respirator breathes.
The Jedi taught me to suppress emotion. The Sith taught me to wield it. Neither taught me how to sit with it.
And if someone had?
Perhaps I'd have become a man instead of a myth.
Jude nods slowly. Not in agreement, in acknowledgement.
You said earlier the Jedi feared attachment, but you were built on it. Can we talk about Ahsoka?
Vader doesn't react at first. Then a long intake. The breath hitches, then stabilizes.
She left.
Did that hurt?
More than I admitted, more than I understood. She was loyalty, fierce, reckless. But her heart was clear. Cleaner than mine had ever been.
Why did she leave?
Because the Order betrayed her, falsely accused her, let her twist in the wind while they debated doctrine. And when they begged her back, she refused.
And you?
I stayed. I defended the structure that abandoned her, because I thought, maybe if I stayed, she'd come back. She never did.
A silence spreads. Vader doesn't move.
She was the last person who knew me without the shadow, the last one who didn't want something from me. Her departure was the first crack I couldn't patch.
Did you ever see her again?
Once, much later, she didn't recognize me at first. Not behind the armor, not behind the name.
Did she see Anakin?
For a moment, then she tried to kill what I had become. I don't blame her.
Did you?
No, I let her live.
That last sentence isn't boastful. It's soft, grieved, a what-if that never ripened.
So many left, or were taken. Your mother, Ahsoka, Padme, even Obi-Wan. It seems solitude became your only constant.
Solitude became my language.
What did it teach you?
That silence doesn't forgive you. It just watches. That power fills the room, but never the soul.
Jude rises again, pacing with new gravity. There's an intimacy now, like they've stepped out of performance and into history.
I want to ask something dangerous.
Good. Those are the only questions worth breathing for.
Do you miss yourself?
Vader does not speak right away.
I miss possibility. The version of me that could have chosen differently. The man who might have aged with Padme. The father who might have walked beside Luke and Leia without a mask.
Is that man still in there?
He's quieter now, but yes, he speaks in guilt, in memory, in the slow ache of hindsight.
If given the chance, would you live it all again? Make a different choice?
That depends.
On what?
On whether love would still be possible, whether the systems, Jedi, Empire, Rebellion, would allow it. If not, then no, because I would fail again.
Jude lets that hang. Not challenging, just absorbing.
Do you hate the Force?
No,
But you don't trust it.
the Force is not a deity. It is not love. It is not justice. It is motion. It is a current that doesn't care if it drowns you or lifts you.
Then why serve it?
Because we are already within it. It's not about service, it's about alignment.
Do you feel aligned now?
No, but I've stopped resisting, and sometimes that's enough.
Vader steps forward. The room doesn't darken, it softens. The edges blur. Jude sits again, cross-legged.
What's the greatest lie you ever told yourself?
That I was beyond love, that my pain made me unique, that no one had suffered as I had, that justified anything.
And what's the truth?
That suffering is not special, that everyone bleeds, that the moment you start building walls around your pain, you stop being able to feel anyone else's.
Jude leans forward slightly now.
Did you ever enjoy the fear you created?
At first, yes, it felt like control. Like the galaxy finally understood who held the blade.
And later?
It became noise. Screaming where silence should have been. Obedience without dignity. Eyes that wouldn't meet mine. Not because they feared death, but because they saw no person left inside.
Did that hurt?
Yes, because they were right.
For a moment, Vader turns away. The silence becomes a fourth presence in the room. Heavy, watchful, unresolved.
Tell me about the mask.
What do you want to know?
Everything.
It is a prison and a permission slip. It lets me breathe, but it also lets me forget my face. It hides the man from the monster, and vice versa.
Does it protect you?
Not from others, from myself, from hope, from shame, from recognition.
And when you took it off, for Luke?
I wasn't giving him my face. I was giving him the truth, that beneath the myth was a man. Broken, burned, small, but real.
Soft electronic wind. A long inhale. The hum of quiet memory.
What did it feel like in those final moments?
Light, not in weight, in clarity. Like I had finally finished a sentence I'd been trying to speak my whole life.
What was the sentence?
I survived myself. That is not the same as living, but it is presence.
Jude closes his eyes for a beat. It's not a pause, it's reverence.
We've talked about fear, anger, solitude, but I want to ask something different now.
Go on.
What does forgiveness feel like?
Like silence without shame.
Vader steps back. The light flickers faintly. A heartbeat, or a memory, or both.
Forgiveness isn't clean. It doesn't erase, it doesn't cure. It just stops the bleeding long enough for reflection.
And did you forgive yourself?
I'm trying.
Jude doesn't push. He doesn't need to. The man behind the mask is speaking louder than the armor now, and the conversation is still climbing. The chamber no longer holds stillness. It contains density. The kind of density you feel in places built from too much memory. Between Jude and Vader, a rhythm has formed. Question, reflection, silence. Confession, pause, breath. Not therapy, not confrontation. Something older, like two monks kneeling before opposite altars, unsure which of them is wrong. Jude sits, one leg tucked beneath the other, eyes focused not just on Vader's frame but on what emerges between syllables. And Vader, for all his immovable weight, seems almost lighter.
What did the Empire mean to you?
Security, purpose, silence.
That's an odd trinity.
Because it's a false one.
The mask lifts slightly, a gesture, not mechanical, but meaningful, like he's watching ghosts shuffle through the chamber.
Palpatine promised order after the chaos, after the betrayals, after the collapse of the Republic. He told me that clarity required control, and I was too wounded to disagree.
So you became an architect of control.
I became its monument.
What do you regret most from that time?
Not the killing, that pain is familiar, almost expected. What I regret is how easily I learned to speak in euphemism.
Euphemism?
Stability, rebellion, necessary loss. We dressed atrocity in policy. We gave terror a uniform, and I signed those orders. I heard no screams in the soundproof corridors of the Death Star, but I felt them. Afterward.
Jude exhales slowly. He doesn't interrupt.
There was a man on Raltier, an officer, low-ranking. He refused to fire on a crowd because there were children present. I had him brought to me. Not to kill. I needed to understand.
What did he say?
He said the line has to be somewhere.
Did you believe him?
I wanted to. I let him go. The next day he was executed anyway. Not by me, by the system, by the machinery I'd helped design.
Did that change you?
It reminded me that I was no longer steering the machine. I was its skin.
A faint, hollow clatter, like metal hands opening and closing without command.
Did you ever dream during that time?
Only once.
What was it?
I was back on Naboo. The sun was so bright it hurt. Padme was there, pregnant. No politics, no war. We were arguing, laughing. about what to name the child.
And?
I woke up before we chose.
A silence.
I had that dream only once. I never forgave my mind for waking.
Jude leans slightly forward, voice quiet, almost reverent.
What do you think survives you?
Impact, not memory, not truth. People remember noise, the breathing, the blade, the silhouette. They forget the pause, the hesitation, the man behind the machinery.
And is that enough?
It was never about enough. It was about whether anything real can survive the myth. They already don't. I became symbol before I had the chance to become man.
But symbols endure.
So does rot.
The light dims slightly, not from emotion, but from agreement. The space itself responds to truths spoken too plainly.
Let me ask something difficult.
You haven't been asking the easy ones.
Do you think you were ever truly evil?
The breath holds, then resumes.
No, I think I was useful to evil. I think I became a language it spoke fluently.
And you?
I was the syntax, the punctuation, the pause before the shot.
Jude stands now, not in challenge, but to stretch the moment. He walks slowly, arms folded, voice softer.
I've studied your legacy in my time. Statues, parades, costumes. You're a pop icon.
That isn't absurd.
Children wear your mask.
They never should.
Why not?
Because they don't know what's under it.
Vader's hands curl slightly, like he's resisting the urge to remove something long embedded.
I'm not strength. I'm not clarity. I'm the price you pay for confusing silence with peace.
But people admire you.
They admire distance. They see control and assume serenity. They see death and call it conviction.
Is it not?
It's despair in armors.
A faint tone rises, the chime of something ancient, like a broken bell ringing in another room.
You mentioned earlier that you let Ahsoka live. Did you let others live too?
More than I admitted. There were nights, especially after the dream stopped, when I would alter orders, reroute star destroyers, give warnings where silence had been expected.
Why?
Because something in me still recognized the pulse of what I used to be.
Did the Emperor know?
He suspected, but he needed me more than he feared those fractures.
And after Luke?
Everything changed. His presence relit the corridors I'd sealed off. He asked nothing of me but to choose.
That moment, when you turned against the Emperor, was it love, duty, desperation?
All of it and none of it.
The mask tilts slightly.
It was instinct. For the first time in decades, my instincts were not about survival. They were about protection.
Of Luke?
Of what he still believed, of the hope I thought I'd extinguished. He believed I was still capable of choice, and in that second, I wanted him to be right.
Jude closes his eyes a moment.
That was enough.
It had to be.
Very faint, the sound of twin suns setting behind stone.
If the galaxy remembered you truthfully, what would you want them to understand?
I was not a shadow, I was Ash. The memory of fire pretending to be forms.
And what of the mask?
Burn it. Let no one wear it again. Let it be buried beneath the soil of remembrance.
The chamber darkens, not with malice, but with closing. Jude steps forward once.
We're almost there.
Yes, sir.
One final part.
Then let it be real.
The silence stretches. The final reckoning awaits. The chamber is dissolving now. Not collapsing, transforming. Its edges bleed into starlight. The floor becomes vapor. Stone gives way to cloud, to memory, to unformed space. Only Vader and Jude remain, two silhouettes in the eye of a storm made from silence and story. The breath is steady. The weight of the mask still holds. But something in the air says, this is the end of the telling.
You said earlier that forgiveness feels like silence without shame.
Yes.
Have you found it?
Not completely, but I no longer flinch from the question.
Vader's hands are at his sides. No saber, no tension. The posture of someone who has surrendered nothing, and yet no longer needs to defend.
What do you see, Ran, when you close your eyes?
Light, not the Jedi's radiance. Not the sterile blaze of the Death Star, not even the fire that claimed me.
A pause.
A softer light. The one that filtered through the curtains on Naboo. The one that danced in Padme's hair. The one that lit Luke's face when he smiled and didn't know what I had done.
Is that peace?
No, it's memory. Peace is what I hope they find. Those who remain, Leia, Luke, even you.
The mask lowers slightly. Not bowed. Offered.
You asked me what I would say to the galaxy.
Yes.
I would say, do not become a myth, not for power, not for righteousness. Do not trade your skin for a symbol, because one day, someone will wear your story and forget your soul.
The breath halts, just once, like a final heartbeat before stillness.
And if you must fall, fall toward the one who still believes you can stand again.
The faint, impossible echo of a child's laugh. Not eerie, but innocent. Brief, then gone.
Do you still dream?
Not anymore.
Would you like to?
No, I have told the truth, and that is enough.
The chamber dims. Around them, the stars pulse. Bright, then black, then gone. Jude rises, but slowly, like someone waking from deep water. His voice is steady, but softened.
I want to thank you.
Don't.
Why not?
Because I was never a guest. I was the shadow beneath every guest you've ever interviewed. I am the warning, the echo, the question that never leaves.
Jude takes one final look. Not at the mask, not at the legend, but at the man still breathing inside it.
Then I'll say this instead.
A pause.
You are not forgotten.
The distant ring of the chronologue chime. Faint, ancient, like time folding shut. The space unravels. Jude is gone. The chamber is gone. Only the breath remains,